So, the big question is this: how are entrepreneurs and real estate investors like us, ones who want to grow our businesses and who are tired of paying for really expensive alternative lending, how do we tap into the most inexpensive money available and do it without the hassle of typical borrowing? That is the question, and this podcast will give you the answers. I'm Merrill Chandler, and welcome to the Are You Effable podcast. Welcome to the Are You Effable podcast. My name is Merrill Chandler. I'm your host, and in this episode, we're going to be talking about the most prevalent credit myths that plague our entire society. Things that are absolutely not true, and yet you've been raised to believe they are. We'll be right back for this deep dive into these credit myths. And we're back. Welcome. Okay, so we're going to start from the top, and these are not in any particular order, but these credit myths, I'm telling you guys, they are a bane to my existence because so many people in all my public appearances, the conferences that I speak at, even on our Facebook groups, people will comment and they will presume to know something that is absolutely false. Absolutely false. So, and here's the great news. Every single one of these, there are 17. There's probably dozens more, but we're not counting them that way, right? We're going to review 17 of these, and we're just going to barely skim a rock across the top of this 700-foot lake because each one of these is going to become its own podcast. We will literally mine all of the data that we possibly can out of each one of these myths so that you understand why it's a myth and how you can create your fundability by believing the truth, right? One of the Merrillisms that I believe, the foundation principles of my life is that only the truth is actionable. So let's start talking about and find out what the truth is for each one of these. You ready to go? First, foremost, myth number one, you have a credit score. Now, you do not have a credit score. Just your consumer-facing scores alone, there are 28. And there are not just credit scores, there are versions of credit scores depending on the different software that is being used. So when somebody says, hey, what's your credit score? You know that individual has not been listening to these podcasts. They've not been to our boot camps. They have not studied what is available out there to understand the truth of credit scoring. And then there's FACO scores and FICO scores. So there is not a credit score. That is a myth. That is a landmine. Okay? Number two, credit approvals are based on credit scores. Not so. Credit approvals are based on a series of measured borrower behaviors over the course of 24 months, or for as long as the data is available, 3 months, 6 months, 12 months, and 24 months. There is no there is no single use of a credit score to make a lending decision. They look at the quality of your profile. They look at how long that profile has been in operation and how long these borrower behaviors have been effectuated, right? Your credit score is the third or fourth lending metric, not the first, certainly not the first three. And more importantly, there are far more deeper. The 24-month look-back period is far deeper and far more powerful of a lending metric if you had to pick one. So the credit myth number two, credit approvals are based on underwriting guidelines and automatic underwriting software where the third or fourth metric is the actual credit score. So, number three, becoming an authorized user will help your credit score. Okay. My notes here say C number two, myth number two, because scores aren't approvals. So we don't care if your score goes up. We care if your fundability goes up. And all of these, every one of these myths are based on false premises. None of them are based on the fundability of your borrower profile. So let's talk about authorized users. Authorized users, when they're counted positively, are only worth 40% of the value of your report, of the value that the individual owner has. So if you're not the owner gets 100% of the possible points. You, the authorized user, gets 40% of the possible points. But here's the ugly part of that. If the owner of the account goes negative, you get 100% of the negative points. We'll get into the deeper dive of this later, but I'm telling you, we don't care about your score going up. We care about your fundability improving. And that fundability is based on other things and not your credit score. At least important, your credit score itself. So we don't care if your score goes up by being an authorized user. Therefore, we do not want you to be an authorized user except in very rare and very narrowly defined circumstances that require an entire analysis. All right. Number 4, credit scoring is a very simple process. No. If you go right now to don't do it, but later go to Credit Karma and look at their credit scoring or credit estimation software. I am telling you, they give you 5 or 6 questions to ask, and it estimates your score. That's all bunk. FICO measures 40 characteristics of your credit profile in 13 different scoring models, what are called scorecards. So, do you know what 40 is to the 13th power? That is billions of versions of underwriting possibilities. Okay? 40 to the 13th power. So, when it comes to credit scoring being simple, it is not so. It is not a thing that is simple, and we have to know what the underwriting guidelines are in order to be fundable. So let's continue. Number 5, credit. There's good credit and there's bad credit. Bad credit is bad and good credit is good. It's black and white. Okay. Not even close. Not even close. Credit fundability and credit modeling and approval models are all spectrums of gray, from the darkest possible gray that isn't black to the possible lightest gray that isn't white, because it's not black and white ever. Credit is not bad. Credit is not good. It is, are you fundable or are you not fundable? And then if you're fundable, to what degree? Does someone give you a $5,000 credit line or credit card, or do they give you a $50,000 credit line or credit card? What interest rate do you get when you get your mortgage? Fundable is also gray, but you are not fundable or you are fundable at small, medium, or large amounts. So the thing that we have to remember is it is not black and white. And credit scoring, that credit, my credit's good or my credit's bad, credit scoring is different than reporting. Whole deep dive that we're going to be going further into exploring what that looks like, and you will discover some amazing things. All right, let's look at number 6. Paying your bills on time is all you need to do to have great credit. All right, that's where we go back to C number 2. Paying your bills on time. So if I use the metaphor of a game, let's say basketball. If you are paying your bills on time, you get to be on the team. That doesn't mean you get to play. It doesn't mean you get the ball because you're playing. It means you're on the team. because if you don't pay your bills on time, you get derogatory accounts. Those fresh derogatory accounts, you don't even get to walk into onto the court. You are not part of the team. You don't get to play. So paying your bills on time just gets you on the team. But there's a whole slew of things that you need to do and need to know in order to not just make it on the team, but then get off the bench and then get the ball, the predominant, and then be that 5-second clock player that you get the ball every time because you score, because you know how to play this game. All right. So without pushing the metaphor further, you're paying your bills on time. That's, I mean, I literally have people coming up to me at events and they're like, hey, so why do I need you? I have an 820 credit score. And I go, so why do you have that 820 credit score? Because I pay my bills on time. I'm like, and what about the 39 other FICO metrics? What about those? Because you're paying your bills on time is not the reason why you have an 800 credit score. And they're like, well, I don't know. I just know I have an 800 credit score. And then I ask you, where's the $1 million in business lines of credit? Where is the lowest possible interest rates? Where is the best auto loans? Where is the result of having that 800 plus credit score? You got to ask yourself, do you have the business credit lines so you can write a check and do a deal out there in the world as an entrepreneur, investor, etc.? Score is not as important as the other factors. And your credit is, are you fundable or not fundable? And as we said on number 6, paying your bills just keeps you on the team. It doesn't put you in the game. All right. So let's go to number 7. All credit cards are created equal. No. In fact, some of them are so bad, they actually have what's called a negative indicator, and FICO downgrades your credit profile, the value of your profile, the quality of your profile, because you have what's a consumer account is detected. And consumer accounts, so I'll tell you right now, we'll get into this in another podcast, but there are 16 valuations of revolving accounts and installment loans. You can have a tier 1 to tier 4. Tier 1 is the best, tier 4 is the worst. And then you can have an account that is 100% value to your profile or 40% to your profile. So the worst are consumer cards. They are tier 4, 40%, and they get docked by FICO. FICO literally hammers the quality of your profile and your fundability by having consumer cards on your profile. Those are all the mall store cards. Those are all the PayPals and the Amazons, the online cards, right? Those are horrible cards. And wait for it. If you're binging this, we're going to be discussing the quality, how to have a quality account and what is a quality profile, especially for your revolving account. So credit cards are not created equal. We'll get rid of that myth. Number 8, it's best to pay off your balance off every month. Okay? Now, here's the myth. I do want you to pay your balance off every month if you can on the due date. But the problem is that there's this suspicious, this sneaky lender protocol, procedure, process that what you pay off is not what's reported on your credit report. When I tell my students to go get their MyFICO credit report, they are, especially the ones who pay their credit card balances off every month, they are totally stunned to find out that the vast majority of those credit cards are reporting a balance. There's a difference between the due date and the reporting date. And that reporting date, I was almost going to flip you guys off with so I'm like, hello. So due date and reporting date. And that reporting date is what gets reported. The balance on that reporting date is the day that is the amount that gets reported to the bureaus. So paying your balance off every month doesn't even matter if you don't have the appropriate balance at your reporting date. And here, straight from the FICO development team that we met with at FICO World, they said, and this is a quote from Ethan on the score development team: less is better than more, some is better than none. That's what it needs to be reported. The due date to save interest, if you can pay it off on the due date, awesome. But that's not what's being measured. That's not what's being reported to the bureaus. What's being reported to the bureaus and then scored negatively by FICO is what balance you carry on the reporting date. So number 8, best to pay off your balance every month. It's a non-starter. That's a nonsensical question, because the balance after you pay it is not what's being reported. So get that one straight. Number 9, myth number 9, debt is bad. Debt is bad. Well, if you are an entrepreneur, a real estate investor, note buyer, business owner, or anybody who is looking to not be 1099 and strike out on your own and build your own legacy and or empire, then that is utterly false. Because I don't want you to be in debt for debt's sake because you're an undisciplined consumer. I want you to be in strategic debt. I want you to be in debt that reports perfectly from the creditors to the bureaus and scored by FICO, so that FICO sends that data to the lender underwriting software, and the lender underwriting software through automatic underwriting says perfect usage of debt. Perfect usage of debt. So it's best to pay off your balance every month. Debt is bad? No, debt is not bad. Debt is good. Strategic debt is good, but you have to be conscientious about how you do this process. You do not want to just have willy-nilly debt, because as I showed you in the credit cards being equal section, you can have the wrong type of credit instrument, the wrong type of card, the wrong lender, the wrong loan type, and those are all going to hurt your fundability. So, again, we're going deeper into that in subsequent podcasts. All right, here's another one. Paying interest is bad. Now, let me make sure this isn't covered anywhere else. All right. Paying interest is bad. Guys, your personal credit profile, your borrower profile, is the single most important asset you have. It's your financial reputation, single greatest asset, financial asset you have. And most of you have been trained to use and misuse and abuse your credit profile, right? We call it killing the goose that lays the golden egg from in our other episodes. What you want to do is, let's say you had $1 million in gold bullion. Okay, $1 billion in gold bullion, because I was thinking $1 million may only be like this much. Let's say you have $1 billion in gold bullion. Would you invest in some sort of security measures to protect it? So now the thing is you're trying to protect your gold bullion, and so you're spending money to protect an asset. Well, when you say, when you ask, or number 10, paying interest is bad, what you're saying is interest is a bad thing, but if I have strategic debt, paying interest is in building and protecting my greatest financial asset. I'm building and protecting my fundability, my financial reputation, as measured by the underwriting software of lenders and by FICO. So, guys, you have to understand that some of these myths don't even make sense when you know the principles of fundability. Are you with me? Okay. So, paying interest bad. Interest is actually an investment in your fundability, in your financial reputation. And I but you have to be careful of what kind of debt you get so that it's actually contributing to your profile. Fair enough? All right. Let's go to number 11. All right. Number 11. Myth number 11 says it's best to pay off all your loans early. Okay? See number 9. Number 9 is debt is bad. So first of all, debt is not bad. But the idea here is it's pay off your loans early. Well, FICO measures that some of your the highest yields on any of your loans comes with at least 24 months of those payments, right? So we were told that after 24 months, the contribution to your when we were at FICO, we were told in one of the 100 questions that we asked, we were told that after 24 months, the contribution to your credit profile value planes out. It flatlines. And any loan below 50% flatlines. So we recommend, of course, that you refinance, renew, release, whatever it is, so that your loans are active and contributing to your profile, right? But paying them off early in this instance is where people like buy a car and they get a new fix or flip return and they cash out and they go pay off their car because debt is bad. No, if you pay that off before 24 months, you're missing out on valuable points. Keep it at least that far, but you're missing out on extremely valuable points. All right? And you need to even have a mature file, you need at least 20 trade lines, 20 listings on your credit report, or open or close, you need 20 plus, or you don't even have a mature file. And the best way to do that, we don't want to open up open up revolving accounts, credit cards, things like that, and close them. That's the worst activity you could do. You want to open up, age perfectly, the installment loans, refinance, renew, release, and then come back and do it again. And that's how you build a foundation of the true foundation, a structurally sound fundable credit profile. So and other than that, credit loans don't even register on your credit score for 6 months worth of payments. So anything you do, you're going to harm your profile if you pay those loans off quickly. So that is not a thing. It does not help your fundability paying them off early, unless it's after that 24-month look back period. All right, number 12. Credit scores in the 700s represents great credit. Here's the thing. It's not even that's a non. When you know the rules of the funding game, that's a nonsensical. That people say that all the time. I got a 700 plus credit score. I got a 720 credit score. The score doesn't matter. See number 2. The credit approvals are based on credit score. Nonsensical. The only thing that matters is your 720 fundable? Because there are 820s that are not fundable, and there are 720s that are not fundable, but there are 680s that are fundable. So it doesn't have anything to do with your score. It has whether or not a lender is going to lend you money based on your profile. And that profile will have a score. But the score is not the indicator. It's not the indicator. The fundability metrics, the FICO, what I call the FICO 40. FICO doesn't call it that. The FICO 40, the underwriting guidelines in the AUS, the automatic underwriting systems, those are what matter. Okay? So a 700 score can be awesome, and it can be horrible if no one's willing to give you money. And you have, I don't care if you have an 800 score. Doesn't even matter. That's actually myth number 13. You can't have an 800 plus credit score and still have negative accounts on your score. Guys, true story. We have clients who still have negative derogatory accounts on their credit reports, and they are fundable, and they have 800 plus credit scores. So just keep binging these podcasts, guys. You're going to learn so much. But I'm telling you right now, you can have derogatory accounts and be fundable and have an 800 plus credit score. So number 12, doesn't matter what your score is. 800 is not good or bad. 700 is not good or bad. 600 is not good or bad. It's whether or not the lenders are willing to give you money. Number 13 is the cousin question to this. To have an 800 plus score, you can't have any negative accounts, and that's not true at all. Fundability, 800 plus, and the ability to be approved. All can happen at the same time. All right, let's look at number 14. Right, number 14. Negative credit accounts must stay on your credit report for 7 years, 10 years in the case of bankruptcy. Not true. In fact, the language is specific, guys. The language is specific in the Fair Credit Reporting Act, the FCRA. It says that an account shall not, a negative or derogatory account shall not remain on the credit report for longer than 7 years or 10 years in case of the bankruptcy. That means it can't stay on longer. It can stay on until it is proven that it doesn't fit the legal ramifications or the legal dictums of the Fair Credit Reporting Act. It can come off if it's not accurate, if it's not verifiable, and if there's an error. And if you prove that at 3 months, that one of those cases, and all three don't have to be true, only one of them has to be true. Not accurate, there's an error, meaning that it's completely wrong. It's an erroneous account. There's an error in reporting. There's an error. There is inaccuracy in the account, or it's not verifiable. Though in any one of those cases, a negative item can come off in the first month that it's reported. So you have to do what's called what we call an accuracy audit. And ultimately for us, through our software and everything, it becomes what's called a fundability audit. We literally run everything through accuracy. It's a data point check. And if there are errors, or if it's inaccurately reported, or it's not verifiable, then that particular item has to be removed. It does not have to stay on the credit report. It just can't stay on your credit report for more than 7 years, 10 years in the case of a Chapter 7 bankruptcy. So those are that myth is completely false. Completely false. All right. Next, let's go to number 15. Credit repair can make you credit worthy or fundable. Okay. No, it can't. Remember, my background. I co-founded Lexington Law Firm in 1992. That was there for 5 years. I even tried credit repair, more advanced strategies on credit report for another 2 or 3 years after that. What you know is that every attempt I did at credit repair for my clients resulted in maybe a clean credit profile, but not a fundable profile. That's why when I was on the inside, okay, that's what I euphemistically call when I went to prison, right? But when I developed the whole idea of fundability optimization, I learned it and then got out of prison and practiced it and discovered that it was true. I could optimize a profile. We could make somebody fundable by doing all of the right tasks. But credit repair, as I learned before I was inside, you cannot make somebody fundable by deleting a few negative items. And that's what credit repair is. The process of deleting negative items or disputing negative items and hoping something comes off. So credit repair cannot make you credit worthy. Now, the only instance in where that may be true is if you have a fully fundable profile and you get a 30-day late or a collection, and you get it removed, and you return to a fully fundable profile. But the thing is now I'm not talking scores. Hey, I don't care if you have an 800 plus score, get a collection account, get it removed. If you weren't fundable before, you're not going to be fundable after that credit repair strategy. Not going to happen. So the vast majority of you do not have a fundable profile. That's why we're here. That's why we're meeting together. That's why we're binging together and making sure that you know the rules of these games so you can implement them, practice the game, and then play to win. All right. Number 16, credit repair is fast. All right. So this one is really important. And for any of you who are using credit repair firms out there, I'm just going to tell you the facts. Remember, it was before Lexington law, before we started Lexington, it was the wild, wild west. And to a significant degree, it's still the wild, wild west when it comes to credit repair. Because to follow the law in credit repair, you can't charge in advance. You have to charge after you've performed services. So if you're being charged in advance for credit repair, you need to talk to your service provider because they can't do that. Number 2, the only way they make money from you is by continuing to dispute. All right? So let's say you're Lexington, anybody that you're using, $99, right? Every time you are, every month you get $99, and then they report to you all the things they did from the previous month. Awesome. But guess what? There's what's called a coded period at the credit bureaus. And this is where this myth falls apart. In this coded period is that there are only 2 opportunities to dispute a negative listing on your credit profile. Remember, I said there's 3 conditions that can exist for you to try and dispute. But if they return it and they say verified as accurate, then you only have 1 shot left, and that's to send new information to the credit bureau substantiating the accuracy or the erroneous nature of it or the unverifiability. That's it. But credit repair companies continue to charge your account because you don't know the rules of the game, and they bill you $79, $99, $129 a month forever. For some of you, if it's been verified more than twice, then you're done. So if you're using a credit repair company, the max you should use them is to clean up whatever might be clean upable. The max you should use them is 6 months, because that's 6 times. And they're disputing every single month. And even if they're alternating the accounts within 6 months, they're going to have covered everything. And whatever's coming off will have come off by then, 99% of the time. Remember, I co-founded what has become the single largest credit repair law firm in the country. So no more than 6 months. You're wasting money after that. It's been verified, and if you haven't got new data to send to them, they're going to keep spitting back to you. And then they red flag, and then you just get automatic returns, and you're paying every month, and you're just getting automatic letters saying it's been verified. It's been verified. And then they'll start accusing you of working with a credit repair firm, and then they red flag your file. Okay? So no more than 6 months. Credit repair is not fast, and it's certainly not guaranteed. That's number 17. Credit repair is guaranteed. Guys, first of all, credit repair firms do not have any power over what comes off your credit report. They may have all the strategies in order to get the letter submitted to them, but they do not even have they cannot guarantee the result. And so if they can't guarantee the result, but they're guaranteeing results to you, then you need to read the fine print. You got to make sure that whatever they are saying, that you hold them to that and question them thoroughly. Now, I believe in the right to have an accurate credit profile reported from the creditors to the bureaus and the bureaus to future lenders. I believe in that right. It's a Fair Credit Reporting Act. We will be doing a deeper dive in the Fair Credit Reporting Act as time goes on. But what you have to know, what you've got to know, is that there are insanely credit repair is very, very, very limited in what it can do. And the final thing that about credit repair can make you worthy, number 15, myth number 16, and number 17, is that the results are not consistent. If you delete, remember how we've said already, where if you have more than 20-point difference between your highest score and your lower score, if there's more than 20-point difference, you get kicked out into manual underwriting. If you delete one item off of one bureau and let's say it's a fresh collection or a 30-day late, you delete it off of one bureau and it's not off of the other bureau, guess what's going to happen? You're going to have larger than 30 point or 20-point difference, and you're going to go into manual underwriting. If they care enough to want to approve you. If you're trying to go for an American Express credit card, they're not going to go into manual underwriting. They're going to reject you. Now, here's the problem. When you delete a negative item from one report and not the other, not only do you have the extra, the difference in score, but the data points don't sync up. And when the data points don't sync up, then the underwriting software doesn't trust the listing. And if it doesn't trust the listing, it doesn't trust you, right? Because the perfect profile reports the same data across all three bureaus. And this is anecdotal, so I do not have proof for this, but it is my assertion that a perfectly reported negative account is more fundable than an imperfectly a report where it's only reported on one or two bureaus. Right? It's less damaging to have it across all three than to have it on two out of the three or one out of the three. I do not have facts to assert that, but I have built. Remember, I was in prison on my cell wall working out the models for this entire process. Everything started at questions, suppositions, and hypotheses. Then we proved the hypotheses, and one hypothesis is this: that it just may be better to have all three negative than to have it off one or the other. Now, here's the other thing that happens, and this is, and you guys don't even know it's happening, but if you have a fundable profile, most lenders will pull one bureau. Mortgages require all three, but most will review one credit report or one bureau. If it doesn't make sense, that's when they pull the second one and or the third one. If your data isn't matching, they need more data to approve you. Capital One is infamous for pulling multiple credit reports. Why? Because they don't do any manual underwriting. You're either approved or denied, high or low, based on what it is. And we won't even get it. So much to talk about. But the whole point is that they will pull multiple credit reports to get as much data as possible, and they'll deny you if they see that 20-point plus range or they see any inconsistent data. That's why we are about syncing up our data points, right? So those are if somebody promise you on credit repair is guaranteed, number 17, if somebody promises you a result, especially if they promise you a deletion, you run as far and fast away from that outfit as possible, because there is no such thing as a guarantee. So that myth is complete BS. All right, those are our 17 myths. Now, I went through these 17 because these are the ones that come up the most in our trainings and in our student questionnaires, etc. But there are literally dozens and dozens more landmines, and every one of these we're going to be going through and dedicating a podcast to, because we got the time to do it. But I want you to know what's definitely not true and what's taught out there in the financial education, financial literacy courses suck. They do not tell you the truth that I've told you in the afternoon, because they don't know it. For whatever reason, I have had the opportunity to meet with the FICO score development teams. I've met with lending underwriters. I have seen how lender underwriting software works. I've developed my own software that evaluates and does a fundability index. So just be careful out there, guys. Be careful. Well, that was wild. I can't wait for you guys to keep binging, and we will see you on the next episode. This is Merrill Chandler, your host of Are You Effable? And you better well get there if we're going to do this together. So, are you effable or just effed? I will see you at the next at our next opportunity. Bye now. Hey guys, thank you for listening to Are You Effable? Please leave comments because I would love to read about your aha moments from this episode. And be sure to visit fundinghackers.com to view the blog post, get important links, join our community, and much, much more. And you gotta tell your friends about this podcast. We want them to become effable too.